Welcome to another episode of the Salon Scoop podcast. We are blessed to have the one and only Cindy Duplantis with us today. Cindy, it is an extreme pleasure to have you on the show with us today. I have had the pleasure of knowing you for many years. I can't even remember the total number, but I can definitely say to anyone who has seen Cindy either in person at events, on social media, I feel like I've gotten to know her over the years just through Redken connections and whatnot, and is truly one of the genuine kind people in the industry, and really happy to have you on the show with us today, Cindy. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to respond with that intro. Thank you so much for having me. It's an incredible pleasure.
Well, it's great to have you. And it's really been amazing to see your journey right through everything that you've accomplished and done, and that you can continue to do. And I wanted to bring you on today so that we can kind of dig into some of those aspects, some of those sort of career defining moments, some of the changes, because I feel like you have so many experiences and so many insights that you can share with listeners who might be in a position where they're considering, some of the things that you've done, whether it be you're international Redken artist, performing at shows around the world. You've been heavily involved in fashion weeks, and I know both in Toronto, Vancouver, and New York, and that's something that's appealing for lots of people. You've kind of created your own personal brand and have been a star on the Marilyn Dennis show in Toronto as hair expert for years. We know you're a Sam Villa ambassador of products. You, I think not super long ago, joined the Chatters organization and are an ambassador with them. Yeah. And oh, by the way, on top of all this, you just kind of, launched your own, your own hair accessories line of products under your own under name, just because you were probably a little bit bored and had nothing to do. So we're going to want to dig into all of that. But before we officially get into some questions, we like to start our shows with an S.O.S signature question. So Cindy, I know you've done a lot of celebrity hair already in your lifetime, but if you could do any celebrity's hair that you have not done yet, who would it be and why?
Ooh, good question. There's so many amazing celebrities out there that I would love to meet in general, but I think if I was looking at a hair standpoint, I feel like Blake Lively has amazing hair, and she's kind of like a Barbie doll. She's like the real life Barbie doll that I used to play on in practice. So I would say I would love to try doing her hair.
Sounds great. Yeah, you want a really nice, thick, luscious hair that you can kind of have so much fun with, right?
Exactly. And she seems pretty fun. She'll be able to do different things at different events. So yeah, I think I would do that for sure.
She'd be open to your creativity.
Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully. So let's go back a few years. You've had such an amazing career already, but are still so young. And before all of this happened in your world, and you were, let's go back to when you were just, working as a regular full-time stylist in a salon, but none of this other stuff in your, sort of, let's say, extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
What was the vision or dream that you had for yourself professionally at that time? Did you see any of this coming?
No, to be honest, completely not. So my career path has been a very funny one. So I got into doing hair actually a lot later in life. I wasn't straight out of high school getting into the beauty industry. Straight out of high school, I had a son. I was 18 when I had my son. So for the longest point, I had to have a job to have a job, just because I was a mom. I was a single mom, and I really did everything you can possibly imagine, from being a hostess manager to working as at the airlines as a passenger service agent. I worked for an IT company. I played so many different roles, and it's kind of funny because out of all those jobs, they're helping me in my career now. So
I was gonna say that I'm sure that it really has helped you in your journey.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. So finally, one of the last jobs that I have, I was actually an office manager for a scaffolding company, if you can believe it. And I went into this really fabulous hair salon to get my hair done. And I remember just sitting there being like, this is what I need in my life. Now, if I fast forward back to when I was younger, I was always the girl in high school that did everybody's hair and makeup before we went out. My friends would even let me cut it. Like, it was wild. I was just that creative person. So going down the road of doing hair was, it definitely was in line for what I should be doing. I just fought it for a long time because I couldn't go back to school. I had my son and then I had a daughter. And, so I just did everybody's hair for their wedding, and their friends of friends, their friends of friends. And then, like I said, until one day I went into this great salon, and the atmosphere, everybody there, the music, it was just so different from the office job I was doing at the time. And I remember just thinking, this is what I need to be doing. And literally, I think within 2 weeks, I went in with a resume, and I took all the pictures of everybody that I've ever done their hair for their weddings, and I put it into like a book, and I went and I'm like, I need to work here. And that's basically what started me going to school and becoming an apprentice.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you just really were thinking of getting into the industry as a stylist and doing hair on a regular basis, but not necessarily becoming an educator and then this and a this and a this and a this.
Exactly. You know what though? I have to say, this is the biggest thing I learned from doing it that way. I was really nervous going in, starting something like my career later in life. Everybody who was apprenticing and in the school at the time, they were like straight out of high school. So for a minute, I'm like, oh my gosh, who am I to start this in my, 30? And I just felt so awkward with everybody. And like for a milliminute, it actually made me feel very self-conscious. And then I realized one thing. The knowledge that I had was that I've worked a ton of jobs that I necessarily didn't really want, but I had to. So I had that in my back pocket to be driven to do something. As soon as I found the niche and it all fit together, my passion just kind of came out. And I had the knowledge of knowing that I have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's really important learning for people out there to recognize that, every bit of experience that you have, even if it's in, what some might be considering a job, just to have a job, and it's, a receptionist job here, or it's a customer service, rep there, or it's, taking orders at a Tim Hortons or whatnot. All of that actually does gain you skills. You just have to be looking at it from the right perspective. And those are skills that are going to be, able to, be applied in future roles that can kind of just help you get ahead a little bit faster because you have had those experiences. So I think it's important to just, be cognizant of that and
exactly
and soak that in a little bit. So anyhow, let's take a look at sort of what then sort of unlocked your future path, right? So can you maybe pinpoint one or two things that were maybe key moments that unlocked the floodgates of opportunities that started to come your way?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I had no idea getting into hair, you can do different competitions. I had no idea. I didn't know the contestants existed, the Mirror Image Awards existed. And prior to getting into hair, I've always really loved doing photography. So I actually had a little side hustle with my sister, and we used to do a lot of wedding and baby photography and all that great stuff. So when I went to the hair route, my sister had gone back to school and was doing a lot more work in photography. And as soon as I joined the team in the industry, basically, I realized that there was all these other opportunities to do more than not just to be behind the chair, to kind of use your creativity and move forward. And because I already was a little comfortable with using a camera, that was probably like one of my first things I ever did. I think I walked into the job and I was like, okay, so I did a photo shoot. They were like, what? I'm like, yeah, because it was just so fun to do. I mean, the goal obviously would be to enter it into these contests, but if I didn't go in, it didn't matter because there was so much I learned about creating hair behind the camera. And that really started to fuel the passion to look at all the opportunities that we have in the industry. Definitely
Nice.
at that point.
Okay. Because you obviously got into, being a Redken, educator artist, but your path has been quite different from a traditional, educator or artist. And I'm curious to know if you were sort of intentional about all those opportunities that came your way, be it, the fashion weeks, which sort of led in a different, direction, then ended up, the whole thing with Marilyn Dennis, being sort of their hair beauty expert. Like, that's not the standard thing for a typical person. So were you intentional about these opportunities coming your way, or did they just sort of happen organically and you were just rolling with it?
They really did happen organically. I honestly, it's such a wild way that it all kind of fell through, but it just goes to show you how important it is. If you love what you do, like, don't let the nerves or the voices in your head hold you back. You have so much more to try and do. When someone opens the door for you, go for it. You have, like, I can't say that enough. I can't stress that enough. You have nothing to lose. So for Redken, what happened was, actually, I remember this one moment, working at my second job in a really fantastic salon and washing hair. And above the sink basins, they had a video, and it would always loop Redken artists, Richard Kavanagh and Philip Barwick from Australia, doing Australia Fashion Week. And it would play what they were doing behind the scenes. And because I'm a huge, like, fashion television buff, I loved all of that. I remember looking over to one of the owners at the time, George, and saying, I want to do that. And it's like, I think that's like agency stuff. And I was like, really? That's amazing. And I'm telling you, within, I don't know, it was not that long that he ended up winning a Mirror Image Award. And then Redken ended up signing on for Fashion Week in Toronto. And he needed to have somebody as a right hand. He needed an artist because I drew as well. So I used to draw all the books and everything for Fashion Week. So he needs somebody to come with him on meeting all the designers and drawing the hair lookbooks for everybody, and coming up with these styles. And I, like, honestly, I was literally, that's my huge door opening to be able to try that out. And instead of, like I said, letting my feelings of anxiousness and the voices, I was like, no, we got this. Let's do it. We'll figure it out.
Again, I think that's really critical. Do you believe in sort of manifesting things into your life or into your world by,
100%.
putting
100%.
thoughts or positive sort of energy out there, and that it actually sort of makes its way back to you?
Oh, Scott, absolutely. I mean, think about it. If you smile at somebody, it's contagious. It's like the one thing you always want to catch. You can totally get a smile back. So if you throw out that positivity, it's going to come back to you. And I really do believe in manifesting what you think. And if it's putting that energy out there, being able to get that coming back to you, or even just putting it out there, and then it falls on the ears of somebody that can help you to give you down that path, or open that door for you. I definitely think that, yeah, don't keep it a secret. Ask tons of questions, talk about it, have it on your phone. It definitely works.
Yeah. And then ultimately say yes to opportunities, right? Because when doors do open and somebody does ask, do you want to get involved? Sometimes those voices, like you said, and our insecurities sometimes hold certain people back, but you have to just kind of break through that and say yes to these opportunities, because you never know where it's going to lead. But, typically it's leading down, a new path, and it's going to kind of give you more opportunities and more just choices.
Exactly. I think there's two feelings that we get. There's like the insecure butterflies, worried feeling, and then there's like an actual toxic scenario that's a bad feeling. And it's taken me a long time to figure out which is the correct one to follow, because in the moment they're always really intense. So before I got into hair, I was working in a job, like I mentioned, as an office manager. And every Sunday, the anxiety that I had to go to work was so overwhelming. It was really hard to sleep. I just had everything, and like it felt awful in every which way. So getting up every day, going to work it was a really hard struggle. So that was one really awful feeling that I know now in my body that is not the route for me to go. My body is literally putting me in a headlock saying, Cindy, rethink this, reevaluate your situation. I think you're not using your time wisely. Now there's the next feeling of being super anxious, butterfly nerves, but there's something different about this feeling because there's a bit of like an underlining excitement. And if you can push through all of that, it's your body telling you you need to do it. And if it was easy, we'd all be doing it. But there's something so emotional about taking down that wall of being able to push yourself out of your comfort zone and know it's safe. Everything is fine. You have nothing to lose. You will always learn something. It's actually really overwhelming. If you can push it through, it is better than a glass of wine.
Well, some people might not even like a glass of wine, so therefore it should...
Or a good piece of chocolate. I don't know. It's funny. Those are my two favorites, but like, I just think that it's honestly the best feeling internally, and it really does help to pick up that confidence. So slowly those voices become less and less and more of a whisper.
Love it. Great message. Really, really important. I always say, we're going to land on our feet, regardless of how we sort of feel like we're stumbling. And in many ways, I often feel like there's not a lot of bad decisions that we can make, because the reality is we're never going to know what the alternative would have turned out to be anyways. Sometimes we may take a decision, we go down a path, and maybe we're not, super happy about it. It doesn't mean that having taken that other decision, would have led to a better path. We have no idea. So there's no sense, even trying to, compare the two. You just, move down the path. And if it's feeling great, you continue. If it's not, you're getting all that, sort of anxious feeling, like you said, you can then, pivot, right? And continue to take another decision that sort of veers you off in a new direction, to just kind of keep following the passion, keep following joy, keep following that sort of the positive feelings, that are coming to you. So.
Exactly. It's so true. I mean, there's so many cliche sayings say behind it, and I'm sure we've all heard it all, but you just have to do it. Like, don't think about 20 years down the road if this doesn't work out and blah, blah, blah. Like, we talk ourselves out of everything. It's bananas. Like, what happens if 20 years down the road, it's amazing?
Exactly. Yeah. We make all these stories in our head about how it's not going to work out, but what about making stories? I mean, we're just making stories anyways, right? So we might as well make stories of how they're going to be amazing, and just sort of follow that vision. So, and you've obviously, been able to do that and have all these new, opportunities continue to sort of come your way. And it's not luck. It's not just happened. It's you've made yourself open, to those things entering into your world. So I think that's a great learning. You started working, I know we actually talked about this several years back, about how you were working on your personal brand. And I felt like you were doing that quite early compared to, especially how popular it is today in the past couple of years. But what led you to start focusing on your personal brand and making that a priority?
Actually, you know what? Two really amazing people. I honestly, I had the opportunity to mentee. Now, this is me being a Redken artist. I had the opportunity to mentee Chris Barron and Sam Villa when they came into town. And what that means is
a couple small time stylists, right?
Yeah, a couple small time. When they arrive, I'm the person that basically helps them out with everything that they need. Bring them to all of the classes that they're doing, kind of keep them organized, but also being their right hand. So while they're doing the class, I'm there helping them with, all of the essentials, like everything you can imagine. So I had these days where I'm driving with them for long periods of time, and I got to pick their brain about things. And there was we had a lot of great conversations, because we know when you're crossing in a hallway and you quickly ask somebody, you don't really have that total engagement. But this way we had some serious engagement. And one of the funniest things I'll always remember, Chris Barron asked me, he's like, does your, my car sounded so awful. Like talking about, like, I'm a single mom, I'm trying to just survive here. And he's like, does your car need a tune up? I'm like, it probably does. It was just rattling away, but we had we had really great conversations. And some of them was this, like, what brought you from this to this? Like, what brought you from a hairstylist behind the chair to the person that you are now? They've both gone very different paths. Both of them are super amazing in what they do. And I found it so fascinating, like why they chose that route, how they found themselves there. And one of the biggest things that kept kind of coming around was the idea of your brand. You have a brand. You don't even realize you're having a brand until one day somebody is like knocking on your door and asking you for something that has your name on it. And I just thought that was so fascinating. And when I was working at Marilyn Dennis, one of the artists said to me one day, she's like, you have a really interesting presence. And I was like, I didn't know how to take it. And she said to me, she goes, because a lot of times in the industry, women with women, we can be really hard on each other, which I never really understood, but we can. And she's like, people don't look at you, Cindy, and look like they, that they want to take you out, or they want your position, or they want to, they're not looking at you in a negative way. They're actually looking at you to be more like you and what you're trying to achieve, or like how you're styling your hair, or maybe an outfit that you wore, but in a way of like, it's just very sweet, like sisters, like we're all after the same goal. And I just love that so much, because I really started to find out that I think that's part of who I am. That's part of what my brand would be. And being a hairstylist, we're always encouraging everybody to feel the best about themselves. So that's how it organically kind of went that way. All these little conversations just got it into a file. And one day it started to make more and more sense of that I was building a brand without even realizing it, and how I could continue to help others feeling fabulous on a day-to-day basis.
Well, you've definitely been doing a great job of it. And I think you bring up an interesting point that everybody already has a personal brand, whether they realize it or not. And yes, what that would be is if you ask the 5, 7, 10 people that are close to you in your life and say, what are the 2 to 3 words that come to mind when they think of you, right? What are the characteristics? That technically is, part of your personal brand at this point, and we all have it. Now, whether or not that's what you want people to be saying about you or not, is a different. And once you start to take a bit of control or direction over your personal brand, that's when you are sort of trying to influence what people are associating to you, when they hear your name or when they see your name. And that's really what, personal branding, ultimately comes down to. I'm kind of curious to know, what are some of the key things that you did to build your brand? And I guess maybe more importantly, what would your advice be to others who are looking to do that today?
Okay, so I think you nailed it right on the head. It's having intention. So I think in the time of building my personal brand was also the time that social media really started to take off. And like at a rate that I don't think any of us realized. We knew that this is going to be a big thing, but I don't think we realized how large it was going to go. So my intention was to help others with being able to style their own hair. And my very first tutorial, or maybe it was like a photo montage on my Instagram, was literally helping one of my guests remember how to style her hair when she got home. And another one was she was going to use this specific look to go on vacation. So I said, you know what, I'll throw together a quick little vid and then I'll put it on my social. And then that way you can go back on it check how to style your hair. So it was always in intention to be able to help out, because like I said, those couple things have been said to me a couple times. And then I realized that I was helping others to encourage how to style their hair at home. That's what I was educating in Redken. So they all just kind of, the fibers all started to align. And from doing that on social, that's really what I started to see what my largest engagement was, and what I started to get the most recognition for. So that's when I knew I was onto something, and putting the two together is like, oh, a brand. This is something, this is happening, you know?
Completely. So what would you say is kind of the purpose behind your content today that you put out on your social media pages?
Oh, I love that, because I think we get lost in our content. Same thing with talking about our little head that tells us things that we don't want to hear. I think my purpose always was to put out content to help my clients. That was 100% what it always was. It was to help out others. I was always really good at styling my own hair, like doing my friend's hair before we went out, doing all this kind of stuff. And now we had a platform that I could make a little video or pictures, and someone can see how to do it. So that was literally the goal, to be able to go that route. And then I just started to follow that. That's honestly, that's really how I started going. Now, what ended up happening was I tried not to think about what hairstylists would think, because I found that was getting me really nervous and made those voices in my head, the insecurities, really start to ring. Because in our industry, we're always worried about, what other people are thinking. Like, who am I to put it, how to do a ponytail, when everybody knows how to do a ponytail in our industry, but my guests don't. So I really had to remember that in my head. My purpose here is to help others with creating these looks. Now, what ended up happening organically was a lot of hairstylists ended up coming out of the woodwork and telling me, like, Cindy, that really helped me. I never realized that that's what I was doing, or how to talk to my guests on how they can do this same or similar look at home. Or if they needed an idea of how to recreate this, I would tell them to look on your page. So I'm hoping to always keep under that umbrella on my social. But organically, as time has gone on, and with the more and more things that I've been doing, I've definitely been adding a lot more of what happens behind the scenes of, because of these questions I get, how did you get into this? And how did you get into that? A lot of people look at it as super glamorous. And we both know it's not. It's like, there's moments, don't get me wrong, there's definitely moments, but I wanted to keep it real and show that you can achieve what you want to go after. So I'm hoping that that's where I'm bringing my social into. Still the inspiring, pieces of how to feel fabulous on a day-to-day, but also, just the different things I'm up to in an inspirational standpoint, I guess.
Love it. Love it. Let's talk a little bit about some specific advice that you would share with other stylists in the industry when it comes to their digital and social media, and some things that they can be doing to, maybe be a little bit more intentional, with what they're doing to either, build out their brand or just have more success in terms of engagement with their social media.
Yeah, I love that. I think the biggest thing is to just do it. I think that there's so many, I'll hear every excuse in the book. I don't have the proper lighting. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Now, at the end of the day, all hairstylists, we are all artists. We are the worst critics on ourselves. Hair is just a different medium, from a canvas to taking pictures to anything. Hair, it's a very personal thing, because we are physically putting something out that we created, and what we think is going to be judged by tons of people. And I'll tell you, a lot of times we think it's going to be judged by other hairstylists. And I think that's what we're always so worried about. And this is where I'm trying to knock that out of their brain, because it's not the scenario. If you always think about that, you will never move forward. You can't. You have to push that aside and just put out content. And as soon as you start putting out content, this is where all the answers will come about. I can't tell everybody, or like if I talk to somebody about what they should be doing on their social, I can't tell you what you need to be doing on your social. The social will tell you what you need to be doing. You just need to start putting out content, and what ends up coming back at you with the most comments, like the most feedback, the most likes, like that is literally your analytics to let you know you're on the right path. And keep going with that, and make sure that you're doing it with intention, knowing that this is the stylist that you want to be. This is how you want to go. I know we saw a lot of pages that had like a lot of blonde balayage. I'm just going to use that as an example. But if you're not really a blonde balayage expert and you don't want to be doing that 100 times behind the chair, don't keep to the norm because somebody told you to do that. Do what you love, because it will automatically come out as a great shot, great feedback, putting in little nuggets of information of something that you did and why. It's always encouraging because these are the things that you love. Don't step out of things that you're uncomfortable with. Just keep going with what you do.
Love it. You gotta follow your passion, but you also, I think we're going to come back to intention. You want to be intentional about what you're putting out there, right? So exactly to your point, if you don't want to be doing blonde balayages, then don't put images and pictures of blonde balayages, because that's sort of what you're showcasing. So have a bit of intention as to what you want to be getting, right? Do you want new clients? If so, great. But what type of clients do you want, right? Like what services do you want them coming in for? And then be posting with things that are going to be sort of more attracting, that type of client or that type of service. And to your point, just, put out content. But I think it's important that there's intention behind what's going out there. And then, watch, listen to the feedback, see, which posts are, getting the most feedback, getting the most engagement, getting the most questions. And that's going to kind of continue to guide you along the way, as you say. So
exactly.
Don't wait for, things to be perfect and, scared to post something because, like I didn't like the shirt that I was wearing, or I have to make sure that the lighting is perfect if I'm going to do something, otherwise it's not good. Just put it out there. And, we need to let go of all of those insecurities as you talked about. The stuff lasts in the feed for like literally a matter of a day or two, and then it's pretty much gone. People aren't really going to be seeing it. And even on your actual feed, if people go to your profile page, once you go past sort of like 12 posts or whatnot, it's done. So people are always like, I have to have a consistent branding in my sort of my profile feed, and otherwise it's going to look totally off. And what the reality is, you can switch that in a matter of 1 week and just have 12 new posts, and whatever you did in the past, it's in the past. It's you've got to look forward.
It's true. Like I said, we think that there's one person just looking at our page constantly judging it, and that's not nobody knows what your intent is, and you can definitely change it up at any point.
Yeah, not even close. All right, let's sidebar a little bit and talk a little bit about your personal line of hair accessories, Duplantis Hair Official. What was the trigger for this, and why did you decide to start it?
Oh, so I always knew I wanted to create something, especially after talking to Chris Barron and Sam Villa, and but I wanted it to be more authentic to me. So I didn't want to do kind of the norm. I don't feel like I ever fit in the norm anyways, but I wanted to like what was authentic to me. So I looked at what I love to do, hair obviously, and I loved Fashion Week. I've always loved being on trend of what's new, what's exciting, being able to be behind the scenes now to see what's coming out as trend setting key statements, because working on Fashion Week, and then making people feel amazing about themselves. And I've started to really dive into the idea that you can create an amazing look within minutes. It's not about the quantity of time it takes to recreate something. It's about the quality of work that you do and how to make this simple. Because like I said, I was a young mom, And I think the biggest thing that everybody has always asked me behind the chair was, I don't want to have mom hair. I don't want to look like that. I'm like, what is mom hair? But whatever. I'm thinking it's like a struggle, like you're trying to run it to the store quickly. And this is real life. This happens. So, okay. So all of these key things, like literally wrote it out, Scott. I'm not kidding. Of all these things of why and what makes sense. And I'm like, well, okay. So what would make somebody's life easier? Would it be like to create a hot tool, or would it be to like do brushes? Well, no, because then there's no fashion to that. I can show them how to do that. Sam has great hot tools, so I won't even like go down that route. But like I started to realize, oh, it's accessories. And the more and more I saw on Fashion Week, you started seeing more headbands, scrunchies were coming back. Those were questions that I got a lot, was how to use elastic bobby pins, all these kind of key things. And I'm like, you can literally change your look in a day with how you're feeling, and it's no commitment at all. So why not? And I feel like for a price point, it's easy to do. You can change up to being a little bit more trend setting. You can change a look within minutes to make you look like, totally that you struggled running at the door, to look like you put in effort, and now you're top notch within minutes. So why not? I literally, that's exactly how the thought process happened.
Amazing. That you had in starting your own line of products that you can share in case other people out there are sort of thinking about it as a future opportunity?
Okay, so my advice for that would be to just do it. But honestly, like we have so many things online now that you can look up and check out. Trust me when I tell you, I had no idea where to begin. I actually asked my daughter, Kayla, if she would help me out with this venture. I'm like, Kayla, it'd be so great. We can make hair accessories. Don't you see? This would be an amazing opportunity. I'm already in the industry and all this great stuff. And she's like, Mom, you're crazy. And then one day she turns around and she's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm like, awesome, let's do this. And she's like, where do we begin? I'm like, I have no idea, but this is just what we're doing. And like, literally, that's what it was. Started with a piece of paper, a mood board, started creating. This is like when I was printing pictures of things that I liked, put it up on a mood board. I still have that mood board to this day. And then started to try to outsource manufacturers. But we have the internet.
Yeah, there's a lot of answers out there. And I got to say, I am 100% after we finish this call today, going to go to Nike and ask them to sponsor this episode, because the number of times that you've said, just do it. I
need to put that on my headbands. Where's my headband right now?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. There we go. Just do it. Seems to be a key line of advice here today, which is fantastic. We are going to be wrapping up our conversation here today, but I want to close the conversation with one more S.O.S. signature question that we like to ask all of our guests at the end. So, Cindy, let's just sort of backtrack and think of a brand new stylist, esthetician, service provider just coming out of beauty school and entering the industry. What advice would you give to somebody today who's just starting their career in our industry?
Well, the advice I'd give is to honestly, we work in such a fabulous industry. Don't get overwhelmed by all the things that that is out there. Stick to what you're passionate about. Stick to it and learn every single thing you can learn. If you're in a position, if you're at a salon, maybe that you're not totally jiving with, it's fine. Just figure out what you can learn there, because there's a million things. If it's a stylist that you love, it's maybe how they run their business. It's maybe anything on that. Learn as much as you can, and then move on to the next place that you're ready to go with, or find out what your passion is and keep growing it from there. I just think that we all get stuck in, a routine of a 9 to 5. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing to be able to work 9 to 5, but I think we can get all stuck into a routine and we always feel like we're stuck, and that's not the scenario at all. Just stay passionate. because like all the amazing things will come out at you. Like you said, when you put it out there, it really does when you manifest. So you just stay passionate, keep on that road.
Love it. Great advice from a great ambassador to our industry. Honestly, Cindy, thank you so much for all of your contributions today, all of the key learnings that you've been sharing. There's so many great messages that I think people can take from this. If people want to connect with you or learn more about your hair accessory line of products, what should they do? Where can they go find you?
I love that. I think that it's really important that we all stay connected and inspire each other. I'm here for everybody. So by all means, they can always message me on Instagram. You can just shoot me a DM or on Facebook. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Don't ever feel like, oh, she's too busy, I can't talk to her. If I'm busy at the moment, I won't respond right away. But definitely shoot me a message. I love, and we can connect from there. It's perfect.
And what's your Instagram handle?
My Instagram handle is Cindy Duplantis. Everything's under my name. And the business is Duplantis Hair Official.
Super. Okay. Well, we'll add those in the show notes so that people can find you. Thank you very much. I know where to find you. I'm fortunate enough to have direct line of access, and I've really appreciated all of our conversations, continued connections. It's great to see your evolution of your career. I knew you back before any of it started, and it's really been a joy to sort of watch you flourish through all of this, and I can't wait to see what's next for you, and continue to stay connected along the way. So thank you so much again for everything that you bring to the industry.
You guys, before we cut it, I just want to say that it means so much for you to say that to me, because you've been such a large inspiration in my life, and everything that you've done and how you've grown and where you've gone and the paths that you've taken. And I know we're definitely one of the people that have opened a door and given me the opportunity. You looked at me and you're like, hey, I'll give that redhead a shot. But you definitely were one of those people. And I hold that so near and dear, and I'm forever grateful.
Pleasure. It worked out obviously very well. So congrats. Thanks for listening, everybody, and feel free to reach out to Cindy or follow up with any comments or questions in the show notes, and we'll be very excited to connect with you. Have a wonderful day.